2wancast. It's Gbaby. It's Bradley. We was already talking. Oh, so bipolar disorder, right? Like, the day-to-day living is kind of insane. Because, I don't know, I feel like everybody, or at least a lot of people, see it as like, you're just kind of happy and sad. And like, you're just happy and sad. But it's really more like, yeah, like these peaks and valleys, and they're like stretches, and like you'll have like a couple of weeks where you're just like in your room, like in the dark, like you don't want to do nothing, just not eating, not sleeping. But then you'll have this other side. I call it like a speed run, bro. I'll go like 2-3 weeks, just like go to work, try to sell cars for 8 hours,
Nice.
then go rehearse for 3 hours, and then just be out till like 7 in the morning, then like take a shower, and then like go back to work. And you're just like, you don't sleep creatively. Like, there's so many ideas coming at you, you can't even like keep up with them. Like, it's overwhelming. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, it's kind of overstimulating, and that can go on like indefinitely. And then you just like crash, like come back to earth.
You just kind of end up back down on earth.
Yeah, and you wake up one day and you're just like, yo, what the fuck? Where have I been for like the last 3 weeks? Like, what the hell is going on around here? Like, you know, you look, because you'll get like lost in your own little world and just kind of like forget there's like even a society. And then you come back to earth and you're just like, shit, what the fuck's going on?
Up.
And then it's like a cycle. It just
word,
you know,
with you know, that like 3-week stretch of all of that sort of grinding and pushing. Do you get things like positive results out of that? Like you said, creatively,
oh yeah, bro, it's
like pushing a lot of things. You're selling the cars, which I'm curious about. I didn't know you did that. But yeah, like do you come back out of that and look back and you're like, oh, at least I have like, you know, some new song ideas? Or
oh, bro, it's not even like
gained?
Forget about ideas. Like, every time I've made an album, it was like one of those like runs.
Oh,
like
okay.
like I make the whole album in like that little 3-week stretch. Just like,
so that's how it happens, because you have a lot of albums. And
yeah, that's how I make so many, bro.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, like every couple of months I just like lose my mind for like a few weeks. And like, I don't know, like the music is kind of like a therapeutic thing, because I don't write the things down on paper. Like, I do it all like in the spur of the moment,
real time.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's like when I'm going through shit, I don't like realize what I'm going through, but like I'm singing about it subconsciously. I'm like not even aware of it. And then when it's all over, I listen back to it and I'm like, oh, like I didn't even realize like that's what was going on this whole time.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know. I don't know until like afterwards. But every time it happens, it's like a fucking fever dream, bro. It's like,
it's kind of beautiful though. I mean, it's nice to have like balance, obviously, but while you're in that like sort of high speed, just like going, you know, moment, I think it's really nice that you can express and like have that kind of medium, that kind of outlet to you know, not let it just sit in your unconscious. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's like an itch. It's like something like I feel like I have to get out, you know. In a lot of ways, sometimes I wish I was able to be more patient and like spend more time on it, but it just doesn't really work that way for whatever reason. But you know, welcome to the Swancast.
Yes, sir.
I'm Gbaby.
I'm Bradley Brown.
That's Bradley Brown. Bradley Brown plays the bass too.
Yes, sir. Sure do. I've been playing the bass for about 2 years now. Funny story, I actually wanted to play the bass in 8th grade, but something told me not to do it. That voice in your head that sometimes like pulls you away from things that you feel like are good for you. Felt like I wasn't able to become like a good bass player, so I decided not to spend the money I had when I was in 8th grade on a bass and blew it on some other bullshit. That was a regret I had. So, 2021, right after the pandemic, I figured, why not? I'm an adult. I have money. Picked it up and slowly but surely becoming pretty good, pretty competent. But yeah, the bass isn't the only thing I do. I like to paint, learning to draw, meditate. I think there's a lot of like different hobbies and like art forms that just like share these sort of parallels I like to try and move around in between throughout life. It could be hard though, because then I don't spend enough time on one thing, but similar to you, like taking time and like being patient with like the process you're in. I have to kind of learn that too, to like stick with it, keep going, with more like intention.
Yeah. Intention is like tricky. At least for me. Like, I try to be intentional with like things I make, and like have a purpose. But then they always kind of seem to take on like a life of their own. Like after a while, become totally different. And then sometimes like as an artist, you have to ask yourself like, do I commit to the thing that like I originally wanted to be because like this was the first idea and this was like how I know it could be, or do you allow it to like become this new thing? And like, I don't know what the right answer is,
Me neither. It's really tricky, that part in particular, like, because there's so many like potentialities for like everything, but in the context of like this conversation, like creating something, it can take so many turns, and you'll find yourself at like multiple different like endpoints. But I think that's part of like, again, just like setting that intention. There's so many like variables for me. Like I'm a pretty like psychologically oriented person, so I like to pay attention to like how my unconscious is affecting like my conscious decisions to, make a left turn here and a right turn there, or follow through and pursue like certain ideas, at least like artistically. And, part of that I think is like letting go of making those decisions and just allowing it to fall like right where it is, in that moment. And not necessarily like chase what it could have been or what it looks like it's going to be, but just like presently, like this is what it is. It's kind of hard to like find the words to describe it, but
do you feel like at this point where you're at creatively, you can, like when you're doing something, you can allow yourself to just get lost in it and like let your subconscious kind of do the work?
A little bit. It's definitely grown over the years. Like, if I do get into that space where sort of hands off the wheel, letting it just go, it'll only last honestly for like 10 minutes tops for me. But that's not just like 10 minutes and then never again for the night. It'll be like 10 minutes, take a little break, try to go back into it and just like let go and see like what my hands are doing when I'm playing the bass, and just like, I've heard a lot of like popular like professional artists say it's like, oh, I like this idea. They're not consciously trying to like pull it out. It just sort of happens. But it's a weird like dance of me trying to just quell my inner critic, I guess, and make more space. Like that's a big thing. I think I just like have a hard time allowing myself the space to create. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like you're very critical of your work? Or at least, do you feel like you have a lot of commentary on your own things?
I would say so. But I think it's been getting better these past couple months because I had a talk with a friend one time, and they were like, you know, what are you doing with your music? Like, what's your, again, like your plan, or like, if any, or your intention with it, you know? And it boiled down to like, are you trying to make money? You're trying to like become famous? Or is it more for you? And like, whatever it is that means. And for me personally, like, I started fundamentally just to learn how to express myself in ways that like my words couldn't really gather. And I think like that ultimately kind of helps me just to steer in the right direction. Money and fame and stuff would be great, but I have other interests. I just want to like, you know, become whatever it means to be like a good artist, and then whatever else comes from that, so be it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm definitely like driven towards like the plight of figuring out what it means to be an artist. Like, I'm like obsessed with the idea of like self-expression. And like, I don't know, I'm very much like an individualist. Like, I think we have very much control. There are a lot of things that you can't control, but there are a lot of things that you can control in your own universe, and you can really master your own universe.
Word.
And like, there's so many different mediums of art. So by like doing as many of them as I can, I get to like understand myself in a lot of different ways. And like, I don't know. And then the sharing part is just like, here are my observations. Like, I very much don't have opinions on like what I make, whether like I don't have an opinion on whether it's good or bad, as much as it's just like, this is a thing that I wanted to make, so I made it.
Yeah.
Like,
to that point too, I was talking to another friend actually too. Excuse me. The practice in like trying new things, like artistically, like I told you, I've been learning how to draw. I grew up always thinking like I couldn't draw. Like a lot of people, it's like a weird part of your brain you have to kind of access.
yeah.
But I got this really good book, got the right materials. The first few exercises were to draw a self-portrait, draw your right hand, and draw somebody that you know very well from memory. The one where I had to draw somebody from memory who I knew very well, I did my mother. It was awful. It was like the worst drawing I've ever done. Didn't look anything like her, didn't even look like a person. It was kind of scary, but like the relief and the freedom that I felt from being able to like try something new and know that like my intention was just to do it and not critique myself, was like weirdly liberating, and a really good lesson and a really good laugh, because like every time I look at that picture I'm like, fuck, this sucks, this is really bad, but that's the point. This is my starting point. The self-portrait and the right hand weren't half bad. The self-portrait was actually better than I would have expected. So it was a bit of both. Like, one thing sucks, one thing actually, like I could do this, you know, with more practice. It's going to get better, and it has.
Yeah, and I bet in that you probably like figured out a lot of things about yourself. Sometimes it's as simple as like, you give yourself some adversity and you get through it, and you get to look back and be like, wow, like in the past I don't think I would have done something like that, or I don't think I would have had the guts to try something like that.
Yeah.
So then when you do it, it's like, it shows growth in yourself, you know, regardless of how it went. You know, it's like the fact that you even attempted something that you wouldn't have attempted before is like, I don't know, for me that's very gratifying in itself.
Yeah, totally. I think like one of my biggest intentions too, this word is going to keep coming up as we're talking, but one of my biggest intentions growing up is just like avoiding stagnation. And like, you know, this isn't like my story to tell, but a long time ago, you know, before my brother and I were born, I had a third brother, and unfortunately he passed away before he ever got to grow up. Like, he was born, lived for a few days, there were some medical complications, and he died. And my mom like told us that sort of story growing up, and that sort of like attached to me just this like value of like the life that I have, and like recognizing like that could have been me, you know, I could just have not ever have been. And you know, big heavy thoughts to be thinking growing up, but I think it really like added a lot to my character in the sense that like I don't want to be stagnant. I want to like not be the same, you know, person stuck in these like patterns that I've been in, or, you know, like I want to live. It's not always perfect. I'm not always pushing as much as I should be or would like to be, but always trying to like live more and more of like a full life, even if it looks messy, even if it's like chaotic at some points more than others. I just want it to be like true to me and like whatever it is.
It sounds like you practice a lot of gratitude.
I do, yeah. I didn't realize it when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And then I let go of it, and I was like, damn, why am I depressed? And then, especially through the pandemic, I was like, okay, I see where I misstepped. I need to like try to come back to this this place. Otherwise, like everything's just going to look like, you know, something that I shouldn't value or just be miserable.
Yeah, I call like getting stuck in the loop.
Yeah.
I get stuck in the loop all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, you try to have more gratitude, and then like you try to appreciate like the most simple things. Even like
simple things.
You know, like you take, for instance, like cooking and eating, and it's like you're getting this opportunity to like prepare a meal for yourself.
That's a good one. Yeah.
You know, and think about all the processes that had to happen just for you to get the materials to make the food.
Yep.
Like it had to get grown and shit, and slain or whatever.
People put their hands
transported
into that, all of that. Yeah.
For you to get this chance to make a meal, or like when you have to go to work, you can be like, oh shit, like I gotta go to work, or it's like today is an opportunity for me to go make money for myself. Like it's honoring yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
like
and recognizing like
you have a chance at opportunity, which a lot of people don't even get that.
Nope. There are a lot of people in the world, and like honestly, I mean, it's easy to be like, oh, that's corny, but like, you know, you're lucky to, at least people like us, at least here and now, like we're lucky to have some of the things that we have, to be able to at least like worry about some of the other shit that's like not that. I'm not big into comparing, but like some of our problems aren't as bad, you know, related to like things that are happening on the other side of the world. But nonetheless, still like, you know, be present with yourself, still recognize, still make space, all that good stuff.
Yeah. It's way easier said than done.
Sure is. I think another trap too with like being grateful I used to fall into is like you can think about being grateful or you could feel grateful. You know what I mean? There's a big difference between like, and not just gratitude, like anything really, like thinking and knowing something and then feeling something.
And being it.
Yeah. Like embodying it, feeling that shit. That's where it like really becomes like part of you and like your current existence.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for Gardy.
I'm grateful for Gardy too. And you know what that really comes down to? It's action. Like the difference, that's like music. Like the difference between those who are and are not is just claiming it. You know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like when I first started making music, I wouldn't call myself a musician. I would just kind of be like, I want to be a musician.
I feel that, yeah.
But you have to reach a point where you can claim it.
Like, no, I am.
No, like I am.
I may not be great, but I'm doing
But this. I'm doing it, and I'm in the process of like figuring it out. Like it's the entry level, like it's at the beginning, and you appreciate every step along the way, but recognize like you are actually like living it and being it versus like thinking about it. Because at one point it was a thought. At one point, like I was not doing it, and I was aspiring to do it, and I would be miserable because I wished I was doing it.
Yep.
So now when you have those days where it's like you have the negative side of it, because everything is gonna have its stuff. But when you have those days, you go back to the gratitude thing, and it's like, all right, I kind of asked for this, and like it comes with it.
Yeah, I kind of asked.
You know,
this is real.
This is what I wanted to do. Like, this is part of the shit. Like, this is part of it. But remember, like, you could still be at the mall bitching about how you want to get out of working there. So like,
yeah,
you know, gratitude is mad important. But it's hard, bro. Shit be tough.
It really is. It is. You said something about like taking action and, you know, letting those like thoughts and feelings like become like a real thing that's happening for you. That reminded me of this is just me like thinking of random stuff, but like track. I did hurdles and eventually triple jump, and that was like a big like practice for me to challenge myself and be like, you know, hurdles look crazy, they're different, why would I ever want to do that? And you know, challenging like that image in my head of like seeing myself just fuck it up somehow or like fall on my face, which happens sometimes, but you know, using that as like a real world thing, every meet, every practice, to like show myself like you felt like you couldn't do it, but here you are like doing it and doing it pretty well, you know, eventually, through like physical movement, I think is like has been like a really big part of me just growing up. And you know, I don't do track anymore, I coach now, which is great, but I don't know, that's my kind of like sidebar on just like trying to turn like thoughts, feelings into action, you know, and doing that over and over again, especially through like like action can be like changing like a habit or like behavior, or like actually like getting up and like moving your body and doing stuff and like showing you what it feels like to like, you know, be in a different state of like being.
Yeah, the physical and the mental being like connected in a way. Do you feel like exercise is a key to like your focus?
Yeah, big time. Definitely. When I stopped like doing track and started just like smoking more and just maybe drinking a little bit more with friends, I could definitely feel just like my attention, my persistence with things wouldn't always like hold the way that it used to. And you know, now that I'm like, whenever I run, whenever I like move, there are a lot of books on this stuff too that I like to read, but it's like movement really is medicine, and like the body rather stores a lot of like emotion and different kinds of experiences. And I think that through movement, you know, from my experience, it helps kind of like let some of that stuff go and like replace it with again, the new whatever it is, like intention, feeling, whatever you're doing then and there, not like what happened 5 years ago or what you feel like is going to happen, you know, 5 years from now. What about you though with exercise? I feel like you relate with that because we talked about.
Yeah, I'm like, when I'm exercising, I'm like really on it, but I'm like very hot and cold with it. It kind of runs with like the other peaks and valleys. Like they're kind of very much, they align. So like,
Mind if I turn this down a bit?
Yeah, when I'm feeling good and like I'm working out consistently, I'm going like every day. I'm like really getting after it, and I feel great.
Mm-hmm.
But like the flip side, which like I'm kind of in that right now. Like I haven't really been going, and like I definitely been like putting a lot of alcohol in my body and a lot of nicotine into my body, and like I feel it. Like my back be hurting, my fucking neck be hurting, yo. Yeah, like
it's good to be aware of it. It's a good first step.
Yeah, my body is very much in tune with like my stress level, and like when I'm stressed, I can feel it, like I can feel it in like my joints and shit. And like when I feel good, and like I'm working out, I'm like running, like I feel loose, I feel free.
Mm-hmm. You feel light. And you're like, yeah, I could do anything.
Yeah, and it's always been the same theme, and I still just haven't cracked the code on how to stop it. But like when I'm going consistently and I'm doing it, everything is great. And if I just fall off for like 2-3 days, that's enough to like completely destroy the whole thing. And it'll take me way too long to like get back going again.
Yeah.
And once I'm like back on the wheel, like I'm good. But like
it's like disproportionate to the time. Yeah.
And I'm kind of in that now. Like I have some things coming up, and it's like time for me to like get the ball rolling. And I'm like, I'm dragging, and I know as soon as I get into it, like I'm gonna get it done. Cause like once I'm focused. But like something about getting the wheel turning sometimes is like it just takes way too long. But I could feel it. Yeah, I could feel it in my body. Was the point?
Word.
Yeah.
Do you? I bring this up with like everybody I talk to, but do you ever like write notes to yourself? Do you journal? Voice, dry erase board, classic book.
I used to journal every night.
It's impressive.
For like a year.
Just like stream of consciousness.
Just like stream of conscious.
Mm-hmm.
And then I fell off the wheel. I haven't gotten back on it. I need to get back on it, yo.
I feel that. I don't do it every day because I know, like, if I stop it, I have this expectation where I'm like, I should go back. I have to go back to doing that. And that just makes me, like, not want to do it.
And you know what? With that, too, like, with that feeling of, like, I need to go back and do this, I carry, like, that guilt.
That's it. Yeah.
That should be dragging me through the day because I've even though I'm getting things done in my head, I'm like, I'm so fucking unproductive. Like I still haven't done that thing I said I was gonna do. Like I gotta stop being a bum. And like I'm actually doing mad shit, but I don't feel like
your house doing stuff like in the meantime.
Yeah, and it goes back to the present thing because you could be like, oh, you're doing all these things, but I don't ever feel like that. I always feel like I got 10 more things I got to get done. And it's kind of draining like that.
Oh yeah, like, definitely. Your brain needs a break. Your brain needs a moment to like not be processing and not be thinking about the things that's going on.
Yeah. And I feel like that's why when I fall off, like it takes me so long to like get back into it because it's almost like I'm dreading it sometimes. Like I know what it's about to be. Like once I get going, I know what it's about to be like. So I'd be like just hitting the stall button. But that's not a good way to do it, you know?
Not necessarily, but it sounds like you have a really good grasp of some like big parts of like what's stopping you from getting there.
Yeah.
I bring up the journaling though just because like even if you're not doing it every day, I feel like taking little notes, you might have like little realizations that might like help you or help your future self. You know, I'll write notes as like my past self and be like, I know you're gonna stop doing this thing that you really like doing. So like here's how like you should probably get back on the horse. And that's gonna look different every time. It's not always gonna work the same way. But for me that's kinda helped where I'm like past self is like staring my future self in the eyes and then I look back and I'm like, shit, you got me. You're right. I am here. That did happen.
I'm gonna do that, yo.
Try it and do
That's
it like
mad cool.
It doesn't
I'm gonna
have to
do
be
that.
a big long ritual ceremonial journal moment, you know.
Yeah.
Just like do and then
I gotta hold myself accountable.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of ways. Just you gotta be creative with that sort of thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that, but that's cool.
You saw it here first, folks.
From the one and only Bradley Brown. Giving out gems, yo. You're a wise man.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I guess another thing to just about me with journaling, like I don't do it super regularly, but I'm a big fan of like Carl Jung. You know about him? I like his take on like the unconscious stuff and shadow work. And I think that's been like, if you're ever curious, maybe like look up shadow work or like a little guide. I could send you something too. But it really deals a lot with like the unconscious shit that's like making you like avoidant to like getting to where you want to be, and like making you run away like from stuff that you know is good for you. And that sounds like simple, I guess, in the way that I'm putting it, but in the process of like doing that kind of work, at least for me, I'm seeing like, okay, I stop everything and I like really look and I listen, and I'm like, what is like really making me so uncomfortable right now? Like, where does this kind of go back to? And if I don't know the answer, I'll like write the question and I'll visit the question a few times. And usually I'll like take a step further into it. It'll be some childhood shit. It'll be some pattern that came up from like just family dynamics, you know. I went to school for psychology, y'all, so this is my thing. But
Do you feel like more often than not you understand where it comes from right away, or like it takes a little bit more assessment?
I think more often than not I will understand. I will have feelings, right, that sort of feel like they make sense and they're pointing me in a direction. I won't necessarily have like clear thoughts surrounding like what they mean. So I'll have to like sit with them for a little bit. Usually I have to breathe. Like I have to take a few long deep breaths and let my body relax, because once my body's like good, then my mind is like, oh, we can like let everything just kind of like flow as you need it to. And eventually, yeah, it'll be like in a sitting I can kind of make a step forward. It can be a bit tricky though. I also just have to be mindful of like thinking I already know the thing, and then that like closes off any potential for me to like, you know,
For you to actually like dig in and understand what it really is.
Exactly.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Gardy.
Thank you.
That's interesting. I feel like it takes me a while to figure out what it is. It's usually like if I'm having like something really big, like emotionally going on, for a while I have no clue what it is. I just kind of have like just like general discomfort and like no foundation on what it could possibly be. I'm just like, I don't like what's going on. I don't know what's going on, but I don't like what's going on. Yeah. And then after some time, I'll be like one day, it's usually when I have like a moment of stillness for once. If I finally get some peace and like I could chill for a little bit, it'll hit me like a bus. Just like, oh, okay, that's what was going on.
Yeah.
And by that point, I'm usually too removed from the situation to like give a fuck to like do anything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, okay, like I know for next time. But like that was that.
It really be like that actually, like retroactively. You're like,
Yeah, mad retroactive, like. Yeah, and like when I say like I'm fully removed, like by the time I figure it out, I have no opinion on it anymore, good or bad. It's just like, it's like you did a puzzle and you didn't have one piece, and then like one day you find it on the floor somewhere.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, like I already know what the puzzle looks like, but like,
yeah,
I'll just put it in. So
just put it in there. You know, there's like dust on it.
Yeah.
I moved it over to the other room, but whatever.
Just the satisfaction of like closing it, but like there's nothing from it.
Right.
Because you already, you know. I don't know. What do I know?
More than you know.
Yeah, right?
I will say, in the time that we have left too, with like the discomfort, and this relates to everything really. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm sure you've heard that before. A lot of people say that, but that in and of itself, I think, is kind of like an art form, and you kind of got to give yourself some grace to just be uncomfortable and sit with it. Because there's always more. There's always some more in there to look into.
Yeah.
That's part of the fun, you know? That's my crazy outlook on life. But
yeah, same.
Just gotta do your thing out here, you know?
Bradley, this has been an excellent therapy session, man.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be, but this is where my head is usually. So I'm really happy that we can
It's
talk
great.
about
My
this.
conscience needed it, so I appreciate it.
I love that.
Where can everybody on the internet where can they book you for a therapy session?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, if you want to find me on Instagram, there's one account, brownbound6. We don't talk about that one except for right now. Then there's the other one that you should look up, Cyan Orion 1. That's the number 1. The O in Orion is 0. But yeah, actual therapy appointments, give me like 6 years. Go back to school, get my degree, hook you up, take care of you.
Bless.
Thank you for having me, Jarrett.
You're the man, Bradley. Thank you for being a part of this.
Yeah. Happy season 2.
Season 2. We got the ball rolling again. See? We're taking the steps. We're getting back into this
Yes,
thing.
sirree. I hope to be back again sometime soon.
Yes, you will be back. Gardy will be back too. Thank you, Gardy. Next episode, we'll see you.
Peace.
Dunzo.